Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, we've had the weekend pass us by. We had Gennady Golovkin become a unified champion at 40 years of age, the third only in the history above 40 to unify a division. Unbelievable feat by, in my opinion, one of the greatest middleweights of all time. A special talent, a special fighter. One that we should appreciate, celebrate, and, you know, give a lot of respect to, because he's a great fighter, and one that's given us a lot of entertainment over the years. But now looking to his future, you know, there's obviously that talk about the Canelo fight. But I want to look past the Canelo fight, and I want to talk about if Gennady Golovkin had a dream to become an undisputed middleweight champion of the world, which he never managed to fulfill because, you know, the Canelo fight, he ended up losing to Canelo. If he had got the victory the first time round, he possibly would have become, you know, he probably would have been in a position where he might have been able to become an undisputed champion. But he's still got that opportunity now. There's two champions out there. They go by the names of Demetrius, Andrade, and Jermall, Charlo. These would be mega fights and great fights that if Gennady Golovkin wants to pursue, I'm pretty sure he'd be able to pursue. And I think the fact that Gennady Golovkin looked vulnerable, the fact that Gennady Golovkin looked human and looked like he got hurt to the body, everyone's saying that Canelo's going to destroy him and he looks slow and he looks old. I think that Jermall Charlo would be willing. I think Demetrius Andrade would fight Golovkin anyway. I think he'd crave a fight of that magnitude. But I think Charlo would also come to the table thinking the fact that Golovkin is now vulnerable and there for the taking. How would Golovkin get on with these guys? Golovkin, for me, would beat Demetrius Andrade. And I know if Christian watches this, he's going to be like, oh, Golovkin's a bum. No. Golovkin would batter Andrade. He's stylistically all wrong for Demetrius Andrade. Andrade hasn't got the power to keep Golovkin off. Golovkin's got the best chin in boxing. Never been down, never been hurt, never been tittled. Andrade would have success and probably do well for the first 3 or 4 rounds until Golovkin gets to him, starts landing big shots. And as soon as Golovkin starts landing those big shots, Demetrius Andrade is going to wish there's another corner that he could run to, because there's no way he's going to stop Golovkin from breaking him down. And for me, it's like the Murata fight. I think Andrade would do well early on and probably light Golovkin up early on, but as soon as Golovkin starts touching him, breaking him down, I think Andrade would crumble and crumble bad. You know, Golovkin is very tough, very strong. He hits very hard. And for me, he would still beat Demetrius Andrade. Stylistically, he's all wrong. And what I saw of Golovkin against Murata, he still has more than enough to beat Demetrius Andrade. Stylistically, he's just wrong for Andrade, in my opinion. I think he's all wrong. He's all wrong. I don't think Andrade has got the style to be able to keep Golovkin off for 12 rounds. I think Golovkin will break him down, slow him down, and wipe him out. I do. I think Andrade has a better chance against Canelo than he does against Golovkin, because Golovkin's style, the pressure of Golovkin, is all wrong for Andrade. You know, especially the fact that I don't believe Andrade has the power to hurt Golovkin. And once you don't hurt Golovkin, he's just going to start pressuring you and start walking you down. You know, a lot of people keep talking about Golovkin's vulnerability, but to this, that he gets hurt to the body, I'm yet to see him go down yet. So I think he would knock out Demetrius Andrade. We then go on to Charlo, who I think would be a tougher fight, because Charlo's more physical. Charlo would actually fight with Golovkin. That would be a tougher fight because Charlo's quite physical. So this would be a more interesting fight. This would be a fight where, you know, Charlo's jab could cause Golovkin trouble. And Charlo fights a pretty physical fight. However, after watching Charlo's recent fight against Montiel, you know, I actually think he looked worse than Golovkin did at 40 against Murata. And you can make an argument that Morata's better than Montiel. And Golovkin, although he had trouble early on in that fight, he managed to get through that onslaught and he managed to really hurt and stop Morata. Charlo wasn't really able to hurt and stop Montiel. You know? So then we come onto Charlo and Golovkin. Again, it's a case where I believe that Golovkin would again outlast, although it'd be tougher, and I feel like Charlo would have a lot of success and he would again light him up and possibly hurt Golovkin, but not hurt in the sense he goes down, but hurt him to the body. But eventually I think Golovkin would outlast Charlo, and he'd wear Charlo down and stop him. And it's incredible me saying this, and I genuinely believe this, that even at 40 years of age, I think Golovkin would become undisputed middleweight champion of the world. If those fights were to go ahead, I would pick him even at 40 years of age to beat both of those guys. That's the honest to God truth. Nothing against Andrade, nothing against Charlo. I just think he has their number if they were to fight. Now, people will say, okay, Imran, if that's the case, why has he been avoiding them? I think he's been avoiding them is because he knew the Canelo fight was going to happen. So he's thinking, why should I fight these guys when I've got a Canelo fight waiting? I think if there wasn't a Canelo fight, I think Golovkin would have fought him. Golovkin's not afraid of Charlo and Andrade. Golovkin, in his prime, would have fought those guys in a heartbeat because Golovkin was also avoided. He'd just fight anybody. Now he's waiting for that Canelo fight. He's a lot older and he's waiting for that Canelo fight, which he's going to get, and he knew he was going to get. But if Golovkin has the ambition, I think the way Andrade and Charlo get that fight, if Golovkin has the ambition to become an undisputed, which he may do, because although he may lose to Canelo, he may still feel he beats Andrade and Charlo, and that would leave him a carrot out there to become undisputed. Golovkin may say, you know what, I'll go down that route of looking to become an undisputed champ at middleweight, and you may see him fight. Andrade and Charlo, just because of the fact he will believe that, yeah, I lost to Canelo, but I can still become undisputed middleweight champion. And I think he'll go for it. And I still believe that will happen. I still believe, because Golovkin's unified champion. He's not going to be fighting Canelo for those belts. He's going to be moving up to 168. So if he wins, he'll probably continue. Look, if he wins, he may not continue. He might retire. Because he would have then become an undisputed champion. Do you understand? Yeah, not at middleweight, but he would have still become an undisputed champion. So he may then call it a day anyway. But if he loses, he may still have that desire at the fact that thinking that he could beat Charlo and Andrade. And also there'll be good paydays for him as well, especially Andrade on his own. It'd be a good payday. And then obviously he'd have to work out a deal with Charlo to get that fight on. But I'm pretty sure PBC would look to make that fight. You know, especially if Golovkin gets beat by Canelo and they think he's aging, they may think that might be the breakout fight for Jermall Charlo. So they'll probably make that fight. So yeah, I think Golovkin may still have that desire to become undisputed if he loses to Canelo. If he beats Canelo, then he may retire, because then he may think, I've become undisputed, I've achieved what I wanted to do. So I think it just depends on how that Canelo fight goes. Also, if he gets battered by Canelo and gets totally dominated, he may retire because, you know, people around him might not want him to continue. So to me, it just depends on that Canelo fight. For me, it depends on that Canelo fight, what happens. If he wins, he'll probably retire. If he loses and it's a close-ish fight, and he loses a, decision like he lost previously, then he may say, you know what, I want to fight at middleweight and become undisputed. I still think I've got what it takes to beat those guys. You may see him then carry on to fight those guys. So yeah, I'm interested. I am interested. To be honest, I would rather see that than the Canelo fight, so to speak. I'd rather see Golovkin look to actually become undisputed. I know the Canelo fight means so much to Golovkin, but I actually think Golovkin should look to seal his legacy that way. I think we all have the same opinion that we think he'd lose to Canelo. I don't see how that's going to enhance his legacy, but beating Charlo and Andrade would enhance his legacy. Beating Charlo and Andrade would put him up there. And also he'd become undisputed. And he'd have two good names on his record. And I genuinely think he beats them both. You know, people won't agree with me. People may disagree. But I genuinely think he beats both of them. Even at this stage in his career, he beats both for me. You know, people would disagree and say, Imran, you're talking rubbish, man. Andrade will school him, and styles make fights. Even at 40, Golovkin showed me, Golovkin showed me he's still a top fighter against Murata. And Andrade is not exactly, for me, he's been inactive. He's not exactly fighting top competition. He's probably on the slide. And I saw enough against Liam Williams to see that there's a lot of weaknesses there. There's vulnerability there, and Golovkin will take a huge advantage of it. I don't buy the Christian explanation, the scientific explanation about, you know, well, Liam Williams was taller. Golovkin's going to find a way to get to you. Simple. He's going to find a way to get to you. He finds a way to get to everybody. So Andrade's no exception. You know, he'll find a way to get to Andrade. He may be fast, he may be slick. For how long? For how long? These type of fighters die out very quickly, especially when you got a bull in front of you that's very, very putting a lot of pressure on you. You know, pressure breaks pipes, bursts pipes. And that's what I feel would happen to Andrade. I think Andrade will do well for the first 4 or 5 rounds eventually, but Golovkin will just wear him down, break him down, in my opinion. That's how I see that fight playing out. I can't see Andrade keeping it up for 12 rounds. Charlo is tougher because Charlo's a more physical fight. He's not a guy that's going to be coming to outbox Golovkin. He's going to be using his jab. The only problem is with Charlo is he going to be able to outlast? You know, who knows? If Charlo's able to outlast Golovkin and go the distance, he might be able to win a decision. If he is, that's the only question mark. I don't know whether Golovkin, the pressure that Golovkin will put on Charlo, I don't know whether Charlo would be able to withstand that pressure. I don't think he would. I think Golovkin would take him out. You know, what people don't understand is that people talk about the Jacob fight. Jacob's a very big middleweight. Jacob actually blew up huge. You know, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know whether Jacob's, like, he went over the IBF limit or something like that. But yeah, Jacob blows up very big. So Jacob was a very big guy, and Golovkin put him down, but wasn't able to stop him. But Charlo isn't that big as Jacobs. Also, Charlo's been hurt, like against Montiel and people like that. And I think, although he's tough and he's tough, I just think Golovkin would outlast him and Golovkin will wear him down. But that would be an intriguing fight. I would favor Charlo more. Like, if there's going to be one of those two that beats Golovkin, it's going to be Charlo for me, not Andrade. I just don't think Andrade's got the style to deal with Golovkin. I think Golovkin's style is all wrong for Demetrius Andrade. I do. I think Demetrius Andrade has a better chance against Canelo. See, Golovkin's, for me, for these type of slick, good boxers, I think Golovkin's a nightmare. I do. I think Golovkin's a nightmare because Golovkin just puts a lot of pressure on you. And you just can't get away. And he's very educated with his footwork. He closes off all the exits. And he's so much pressure. And his chin is so good, is that you're hitting him. It's like hitting a brick wall. There's no reaction. And he keeps coming forward. And he's hitting you so hard. His punches are so hard. He's slowly breaking you down and beating you up. And he has got the kind of power that people say Golovkin's not a one-punch knockout. Maybe not one punch. I believe he is. I believe if he hits you with the right shot, you're gonna go down. You're gonna be in serious trouble, or you're gonna be all over the place. I've seen it many times with Golovkin. He hits you with a shot and you're all over the place. You know, so I do believe Golovkin has got the power to wipe people out. And I think he has the power to really hurt Demetrius Andrade and Charlo for that matter. So they're interesting fights. It's fights that I really would want to see. But fights that I do think Golovkin stops both. I think Golovkin would knock out both, yes. I think Golovkin would knock out both Charlo and Andrade even at 40. On the evidence of what I saw against Murata, because I don't think stylistically any of those guys are good enough to take advantage. Canelo will be good enough to take advantage of Golovkin slowing down and not being the same fighter. I just don't think those two guys are good enough to take advantage of Golovkin slowing down. I still think Golovkin has more than enough in the tank to beat both of those guys. And he'd still become undisputed. You know, it's crazy to think that at 40 years of age. But that's because I just don't think Charlo and Andrade, I think even though Golovkin's on the slide and he's past his best, I still think he has more than enough to beat those two. But that's my take on it. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd love to know your opinions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.